Welcome to the Life Endurance Podcast, where we study methods of unlocking your true potential and explore the greatest endurance race we all partake in, life. As we enter 2024, I hope you have goals in mind and are feeling energetic. I got a lot in the pipeline for this podcast, lots of episodes to come. And with that, let's jump right into today's topic, a very important one that we often do not consider enough. Today's topic is self-talk. Your inner dialogue, that conversation in your head with yourself. I've heard this idea mentioned a number of times before in the self-development world, maybe you have as well, but it is something I believe we all need consistent reinforcement on. As you go throughout your day, every little mistake you make, maybe wasting a physical resource, or the most important one, time, what does that internal dialogue sound like? The mental exercise you often hear related to this is imagine your self-talk was recorded and printed out to read. What would others think of it? If you're like me, you're extremely critical of yourself, you have high standards, know whether or not you are actually performing to your true capacity, and value your time and energy. To be honest, most of my self-talk transcripts would make me sound like a horrifically negative and abusive person. So if you can relate, know you are not alone, and likely have this in common with most driven individuals. But this kind of self-talk is not serving you, and here's where I want to share my view of this mental exercise. Now, I'm not going to say, just be blissfully positive, lower your level of personal responsibility. You still need to hold yourself accountable, and today I'm going to give you some tips on how to guide your self-talk. You can't control if it happens, but remember, this voice in your head is still you, which means you can control the quality of these thoughts. The first thing you need to do is apply a role to this self-talk. Apply a purpose to this unavoidable dialogue. The type of role you need to form is a role of leadership. A major topic in my personal studies is business leadership, and I continue to be surprised on how many aspects can also be applied to parts of normal life, particularly interpersonal relationships and coaching. And I would argue everyone in some way is their own coach. Again, coming back to that inner dialogue. Imagine if those internal thoughts were directed externally from another human. What would people think of that other human if they heard it? That's what the mental exercise is getting at. So I want you to see yourself as your own coach, or in other words, a leader. Now, to dig into the more actionable portion of this episode, I'm going to share some concepts that you can apply in your life to lead your self-talk in a more positive and productive direction, with the key word being lead. We want our self-talk to be positive overall, just like any experience. So the first concept I have pulled from my leadership studies is having a strength-based focus. So what does this mean? In leadership, the idea is that people are most happy when they're doing something that they are good at, and would rather work at a job they are good at rather than one they're awful at. So when you are a leader, a good tactic for building engagement and employee satisfaction is to primarily give people job duties they are good at. Of course, growth mainly occurs when challenged with what you are not good at, but it's proven that performance and job satisfaction are much higher when an employee primarily works on things they are good at. Now let's apply this to your self-talk. To build positively within, you want to focus on your strengths. Take a moment right now and consider where your self-talk struggles. This could be your self-image physically, mentally, your performance at a job, a hobby you care deeply about, relationships, or day-to-day habits. Once you have chosen a category, take some time to identify where your strengths are relative to that topic. And yes, I bet you do have some. Think deep about what you're good at. Even if it's a new hobby that overall you're not good at yet, there's probably a piece of it you're naturally gifted in, Or even just consider a basic fundamental you have down. Think of a positive habit you have, or even better, a bunch of small ones. Something positive you do in your relationships. Or even if you want to lose 20 pounds, consider the 5 pounds you've already lost. These are the things you want to keep in the forefront of your mentality. We all make mistakes and fail, but you won't serve yourself keeping those mistakes and failures as the main topic of your self-talk. Reinforcing your strengths internally with your self-talk will amplify your energy and capacity to push forward through your toughest challenges. We all know that feeling you can produce by thinking of a past victory, like making the game-winning shot, overcoming your fear of heights, or even beating that final boss in a video game. We want to consider our strengths as victories. By keeping those your mental focus, you can constantly feed on that energy. Now, the next two concepts go hand in hand, combining two common leadership and self-development methods. In leadership, immediately acknowledging success is one of the most powerful tools for motivating employees. So consider two jobs. Job number one, rarely get feedback on your positive performance, and most feedback is only when something bad happens. Job number two, your successes are immediately acknowledged by leadership, constantly reinforcing your ability to succeed. Which job would you rather work at? Obviously, the one with consistent, positive reinforcement. In self-development, there's a similar concept, win stacking. This is probably the most effective mental tool you can use to build and maintain a positive mentality. Here's how it works. Just like in leadership, you're going to immediately acknowledge your wins. I'm sure any ambitious person can relate to the problem of not giving yourself enough credit in the moment and having to think back later to fully realize your success. We need to train ourselves to immediately acknowledge and celebrate every win. So what do I mean by a win? A win does not have to be as big as making the game-winning shot. A win could be getting out of bed on time, or even getting out of bed in general depending on where you are currently in life. A win could be finishing your daily workout, or avoiding that donut in the gas station, checking your email and responding to important ones. Positive things that don't typically instill the desire to celebrate. Take these small wins and stack them every day, every hour. Do this consistently and watch your confidence skyrocket. Each little win is proof to yourself that you are capable. Remember that every large victory can be broken down into smaller pieces. The small wins you stack prove that you can succeed in each small piece that will eventually grant you victory over your greatest challenges. Personally, this is something I need to make a focus of my self-development journey. If you're someone who pushes yourself hard and have accomplished more than most your age, it becomes very difficult to consider the completion of basic things such as getting out of bed as a win. But it is. Every positive action forward is a win. So as you think about the small wins and win stacking, remember, the goal is to apply that to your self-talk. Make sure that voice in your head is celebrating the fact that you got that little win. And that wraps up these subjects. I hope this episode has inspired you to do an inventory of your self-talk, and I hope some of the concepts covered can help you lead yourself to a more positive and productive mindset. If you found this episode valuable, please take 30 seconds and give it a share. My goal is to make a positive impact on the world, and the more people I can help achieve their goals, the better. If you want to learn more about me, you can find me at The Endurance Beast on Instagram, or search my name, Austin Shadle. As always, thank you for listening, and I look forward to sharing the next episode.